Jeffery Hoffmann here from Fight Sport Focus and FightSportFocus.com, welcoming Quentin Henry to the Fight Sport Focus Faceoff. Quentin, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure. It's a beautiful day. Glad to be here.
So every superhero, they've got an origin story, man. What's yours? Where do you come from, and what got you into fighting?
I grew up fighting with my dad. For the most part, he's done martial arts my whole life, and so I started doing it when I was like 4 with him and my brother and stuff. And then my mom even took taekwondo and stuff for a little while. So it's just something we've always done. My dad grew up in kind of a rough neighborhood, so he grew up having to fight, and he was in the Navy and did some boxing and stuff. But I've always trained with him growing up. He still coaches me now, and just kind of evolved from there. I always grew up knowing how to fight, but never knowing that I could. And it wasn't until I got older, and then I started training to fight, MMA and stuff, to where it was like, hey, man, I'm pretty good at this, So, um, but yeah, man, that's basically where it comes from. I was a firefighter for 9 years. I left at the beginning of this year, to pursue some more business stuff and have a little more time to train, get a little more serious about fighting. And, it's where we are. I got 3 kids. I'm married. I'm really not that cool outside of fighting. Just a normal dude.
So where are you training out of? We were talking earlier, you said you own a couple of gyms. Is that where you do most of your training, most of your camps?
For the most part, yeah. I'm Hero Fitness Academy is the name of my school. I've got a jiu-jitsu part, and then I've got another gym that's like for striking, MMA type stuff, and boxing. Got a women's boxing program and stuff over there. So, yeah, Hero Fitness Academy. It's my own place now.
What do you like most about fighting?
It scares me, maybe. Kind of why you do it, really. People think fighters are crazy, but they're really not any more crazy than somebody who goes, skydiving or whatever. Um, you go in there for that rush. We're adrenaline junkies just like anybody else. I don't think it's as crazy as some people do. Like skydiving, you shoot doesn't open, you dead. You beating that. At least what I'm doing, I got a pretty good chance to live it.
Well, what do you feel is your biggest strength?
Um, I think I've got pretty good instincts as far as my footwork and being able to dodge shots and then stay in a good position to be able to, return. Um, when I can stick to that, and when I'm not, pumping with adrenaline and trying to caveman somebody, that's definitely my best attribute is my foot.
What would you say has been the greatest thing that fighting and martial arts has brought to your life?
Therapy. Um, just somewhere to go be calm. Especially with like this year. Everybody's going through a lot this year, but especially like, this is the first year I've been like a business owner and not a civil servant getting that steady check every month. But it's like when you go through your toughest times and you still have it, that's when you really appreciate it the most. Like today we're having like a church giving celebration we do every year. All the guys get together at the jiu-jitsu school and we choke each other and then we all go eat. It's like our family thing. So, that's really the biggest benefit you get from martial arts in general is, the family and then somewhere to get away. That's for me anyway.
So has it taken anything away from you?
A little bit of my looks, maybe. Yeah, I've sacrificed a lot trying to fight, and besides money, I've lost a whole lot more money fighting than I've ever made. But
How did that happen? How do you figure you've lost more than you've made?
well, it costs you a lot, and then most of the time you're fighting for promoters that want to pay you, $1,000 maybe. But if you get that $2,000, to get it, I got to sell $4,000 worth of tables and seats, and um, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Just selling tables and the seats. Not to mention, I'm training for a fight, and everybody's showing up to watch me. Now I got to sell your tickets for you too. That kind of deal. But yeah, I'm ready. They like where were we with the I'm just I'm ready to fight, man. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight. Just get going.
So 2020, we've got the COVID-19 pandemic. You and I are actually both in Louisiana, and Governor just recently announced that we're going back to phase 2. I'm still confused about the phases. I don't know if the goal is to get as high as possible, like we want a basketball score, or if it's to get as low as possible, like we're doing a golf thing. So it's a whole clusterfuck. How have you been staying
The goal is
sane?
to destroy the economy. That's the goal.
Oh,
It's working.
yeah. So a side note, you've got those 2 gyms. How has that been working out with the closures and the quarantine and the lockdown?
So I own 2 nutrition shops too here in town, and oh man, it's been ridiculous. Every time the governor gets on or on the news, you see sales plummet. I mean, my first 2 my gyms when we had to close for like 3 months. I lost like 80% of my clients. I still haven't recovered from that.
80%. They haven't come back yet, huh?
Well, I mean, I've built up. I've built it back. Since then somewhat. But I mean,
Yeah.
no, I still haven't recovered from that.
Well, a lot of people are still worried about maybe being in close contact with people, and
I think most people are over it. To be honest with you, I think they realize it's a bunch of bullshit, and that's just kind of where we're at. People up here got a little common sense. It's you're gonna get it or you're not, and there ain't no stopping it. Just be healthy and do what you're going to do. But what they're doing is they're destroying the economy. Yesterday was supposed to be the busiest day of the year.
Yeah.
For every small business, the day that we get back in the black, and it was a fucking ghost town in here. All day, it was a fucking ghost town. So yeah, the corona isn't that big of a deal. The treatment that they think they're doing for the corona is what's fucking ruining everybody. Like I was supposed to fight in April, May, June, July, August, September, November, and now I might fight in December if they don't come up with some other bullshit. Who's paying my bills?
Yep.
For those fights. It's not like when they reschedule the fight, I still get paid. I've funded 5 or 6 training camps this year, and I'm going to fight once. So, and it's not my fault. There's nothing I can do about it. It's the way it is.
Yeah, and you're right. Sometimes the treatment can be even worse than the disease. Let me ask you, how have you been staying sane during the pandemic and the quarantine, and has it affected your training at all?
Bro, I reached my final form over quarantine. Most people couldn't go to a gym, but I own 2. So I was at the gym every day.
How were the reps that you were getting in there? Did you have people that you could, hit mitts with and train with?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had a buddy of mine I grew up with. When the gyms closed, he came and started training with me, and I was supposed to be moving up to heavyweight at one time, and then I got up to like 245. I was huge, lifting weights, working out, but I just got to where I just couldn't move very good. I was hurting, and but I mean, since then I've cut back down, and I'm in the best shape I've ever been in.
December 11th, BKFC 15. You're making your second appearance with the organization. How'd you get your foot in the door with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship?
My training partner Brandon Martin fought for him once before. He fought Marcel Stamps in his very first fight, and then when they were coming back to Biloxi, they had called and asked Brandon if he wanted to fight again, and he was busy working and stuff. He hadn't been training, and we had the same manager, and he's actually a coach at my gym. We train together, So my manager was like, "Well, Quentin will do it," and at first they were like, "Well, he's got too much experience," and then they're like, "Well, yeah, come on." So like, I had 21 days to get ready for it, and really, I just got a chance because I said okay when they were in a bind. Kind of where it's led to this, I guess.
What was it that attracted you to the idea of fighting bare knuckle?
A big deal with it was scary. It was something new. The idea of fighting bare knuckle. Everybody's been in a bare knuckle fight, and I felt like I was always pretty good at throwing hands. And bare knuckle isn't always about your power; it's about your accuracy. Because you throw a super hard shot in the wrong spot, your hands break. And that's always kind of been my forte. But I just, when I was with Brandon in his corner getting ready, Chris Lytle fought the same night, and he was saying Stitch was asking him, he's like, why are you doing this? Because I mean, Chris has had a huge career and, and all that. And he said, he said, I felt like I couldn't say I was a combat sport athlete if I didn't try it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I've had kickboxing matches. I've had uh, pro boxing matches, amateur boxing matches. I grew up doing taekwondo tournaments, jiu-jitsu tournaments. I'd never done a bare knuckle fight. Um, Now I have. And that was one of the biggest motivations, was like, man, let's go do it. I knew if I didn't do it, I would regret it. I'd be watching the bare knuckle fights. I'm like, man, I had a chance to do that and I didn't do it. Because at the time I had retired from fighting. I wasn't going to fight anymore. I was just sick with MMA and over it. And then, bare knuckle came through and I'm like, let's roll. Ended up, starting something new.
BKFC 15 in Biloxi, Mississippi. You're taking on Jason Fann. Do you know much about him?
I really don't. I don't. I try not to look too much into my opponents. I know we went through a couple different ones, and right now with different states having a quarantine, you gotta, whoever signs up is who you gotta fight. And I know he was a kickboxer. He's done some MMA type stuff. His record doesn't really reflect how good he is because he's taken a lot of short notice fights and stuff. But I mean, this is a fist fight. This ain't MMA or kickboxing, so this is a whole different world. But I'm mainly just focused on what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Are you going to be tuning in tonight for Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr.?
Where do you watch that at?
So it's a pay-per-view. I think you've got to get it through either Triller, which is the app that they're promoting. But I also heard that you could get it through traditional pay-per-view methods.
Maybe. Man, weird fact about me. I don't really watch many fights.
Yeah.
At all, really. When I was younger, I used to watch like all the UFC fights, but now, man, I can't even keep up with them. I watch the bare knuckle fights because those are guys I'm competing against. And I like bare knuckle just in general. I'm a huge fan of it. It's just raw, and I tell people that every time. I'm like, it's the best live show you'll ever watch. Like, even if the two guys in there are bums, which sometimes happens, they let a couple local guys come out there and settle a beef on the show, bro. It's still fun to watch every time. I don't know, it's weird. But I mean, outside of that, I don't really keep up. I keep up with who's winning in the news and stuff like that, but I hardly watch fights. And I've always been a huge Mike Tyson fan and Roy Jones.
Yeah.
So I figure out a way to catch it, but I ain't planning my life around it. I spend more of my time with my kids and stuff.
Who you going with in that fight? You think Mike Tyson or Roy Jones Jr. is going to take it?
I think that Roy Jones can definitely beat him. But I don't know, man. It's really two different styles because Roy Jones always uses his reach and he's so damn fast, and he moves so well. And Mike Tyson's just a bull. Like, even if you move well, how do you hurt him? Especially if he's in shape and he's got his mind right. Because now he's, that's the interesting thing to see. Like, because this is something that we never saw in his prime, was a mature Mike Tyson as far as mentally.
Yes,
he was always so twisted mentally. And if you listen to his interviews and things he said in the past, he'll even tell you, I was a psycho. His mind wasn't right.
Yeah, he's saying he kind of needed to be that psycho to be the heavyweight world champion. Right. You've got to have that mentality.
But when you hit that level of maturity, I felt like I did that when I hit 30. That's when things have kind of turned around. And I don't know if it's like development of the frontal lobe or whatever it is. That's kind of what it'll be impressive, because now he's not just a raw athlete like he used to be. You're going to see more of, him being more of a tactician. So hopefully, but I'll definitely watch the fight, whether I watch it live or on a replay or something. I'll definitely tune into it. But man, I'm not knowing. It depends on if Roy Jones has really lost a big step, because it's hard to hit. He's the only fighter in history to record an entire round without getting hit one time.
Well, Quentin, for our listeners, how can they follow you, keep up with what you got going on?
On Facebook, I have Quentin the Hero Henry. That's my fan page. I'm more into the Instagram thing. My last Facebook got stolen. I don't know how, but they took it. I can't get it back.
Well, what's that Instagram handle?
Instagram is Hero Henry. At Hero Henry.
At Hero Henry. And lastly, do you have anything you'd like to plug? Shout out your school, coaches, any sponsors?
Daughter Aubrey D and mom and dad and all them. Yeah, I mean, my gym, Aero Fitness Academy, all my coaches and training partners helped me get ready. Premier Chiropractic, Miss Lynn, my massage therapist. She'll never watch this, but she's really good. My buddy Clayton, we went to Atlanta for training camp and stuff. Professor Vic with Warrior Jiu-Jitsu over in Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. I don't really have any sponsors, but hey, Rev Gear sent me some gloves. Thumbs up, Rev Gear.
Quentin Henry taking on Jason Fann at BKFC 15. That's going to be December 11th. You can catch it in Biloxi, Mississippi, or live on the BKTV app. Thank you so much for being on the show. Remember, guys, follow us on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fight Sport Focus, and visit our website, fightsportfocus.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to and share this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, I'm Jeffery Hoffmann. Thanks for listening.